Hey everybody, how's it going? In this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about setting up a home recording studio. And the only reason why I'm starting with this keyboard here is because I set the camera down while I was taking care of something, and I noticed it focused, on these keys real good, and I said, that's pretty cool, so I'm going to record that shit. So anyway, that's the only reason why it's there. This is actually going to be a real basic home recording setup. Now, this is actually in my office. Okay, so granted, I mean it's not bad. It does a pretty good job, but it's not it's not like massively awesome or anything. But it does really good. I could probably, if I fine-tuned everything enough, I could probably get something that was you couldn't tell that it wasn't recorded in a studio. Okay. So I want to go over some of the basics here. Figure you're probably going to spend for something that's pretty good, something that you could easily record a CD or something, or something for iTunes or whatever. You're probably going to spend at least I would say $700 to $800, and most of that though is not so much the equipment as it is with the recording software and whatnot, because that's the stuff that really gets you. Now, I use Cubase 7, but a lot of times if you get like an audio interface or something like that, sometimes it comes with recording software with it that's free, and it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but it can get you pretty far, right? So if you're on a budget, you can maybe even do it for under the 700 or 800 area. You might be able to do it for just maybe 300, 400, okay? So anyway, the first thing that you have to have is some type of instrument, right? You have to decide, well, what are you going to be, what's your instrument? Is it going to be your voice? Is it going to be a guitar? Is it going to be a keyboard? What is, whatever. And I do have my keyboard and stuff. It's just right now I'm using it to store stuff. But you have to have your instruments already, okay? And then after you have your instruments, you have to have a means of taking that signal from those instruments and putting it into your computer. Now, that's where this little guy right here comes into play. It's an audio interface, and I used to have sound cards that I could plug into, and I was getting great quality out of them. I mean, the performance of those was fantastic, but because Windows keeps updating and upgrading and changing versions, and it made it where it's basically there are no sound cards really that work with my current setup without building a new computer, so I have no choice but to use an audio interface. Audio interfaces are one of those things. It's kind of like one size fits all for the most part. So you could take this and use it for a Mac, you could use it for Windows based, you can use it for a laptop. It doesn't really make a difference. It's just the power of the computer that you're plugging it into, but almost all the magic is happening with inside this. Now, the audio interface, it doesn't matter really what brand. I prefer Steinberg and stuff, but that's just because I've had really good luck with them, and it's just when it comes to instruments, I like Yamaha, right? I also like, and it's interesting because Steinberg uses a Yamaha USB driver, but I have my preferences, because if the product hasn't let me down, then great. One of the things that I would suggest to avoid is M Audio. Okay, I haven't had any luck with any M Audio products, and so a lot of the other people that I know that record at home have had problems with theirs too. So just because you can see it at Best Buy or at a local electronics store, or it's cheap on eBay, I would suggest just spend the extra 20 or 30 bucks and get something better. Get a Focusrite or get a Steinberg or get something like that. Avoid M Audio, because if not, I think you're going to feel like you've wasted your money. It's not a good product. Some people will disagree with me, but I'm telling you from my experience, don't do it. So this was about 150 bucks, I think, from what I remember. And ultimately, every audio interface is going to end up having similar things on it, right? You're going to end up having some type of inputs, Okay, and these type of inputs, as you can tell, you look at it, it's made for both microphone, 3-pin, and also for things like guitar and stuff like that, and a left and a right. And each side will have a gain. In other words, you know, how the volume, right, of the signal here. They'll typically end up having some type of adjustment here for the signal that's coming from the inputs mixed with the output. In other words, like I only want to hear my guitar, so I'd go like this. But if I want to hear maybe some of the music that I've recorded with Cubase, and you know, I would just go like this. I don't want to hear my guitar. But if I go like this, now I can hear both of them. That's pretty much all that does, right? And then right here, headphones, volume, that's no big deal. And output. Output is different than the gain, right? The gain is just kind of like, think of it like a preamp. Right, the gain is just a preamp, and then this is the actual volume that goes out. Because when you look at the back of this, you're going to end up seeing that there's MIDI ports, right? You're going to have your 48 inches, 48 volts phantom power, and you're going to end up having line out things. You might have some more things at the end of your audio interface, but that's ultimately what you're going to see on the majority of these. Now, what I do is I have from here, I have this all set up so that way when I play, it's at a volume that when it comes into my mixer, because I use my mixer for like everything. It comes into my mixer and I have all these different things that adjust each particular sound. So I've got, like, if I'm hooking something up to like my GNX4 or something like that for my guitar, I have it in here. So one of these would be for my guitar. I have one for my keyboard here. I have one for the volume of the computer here. You know, I have one for my audio interface here. And then all of this stuff ends up going to like my studio speakers. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much what. And now, as far as the way that you set up your USB, that's completely really up to you. It depends on. I'm sorry, not your USB, but your mixer. That's completely up to you. Typically you're going to end up having like some main volumes and, you know, individual volumes, and, you know, sometimes you'll have sometimes you won't. Sources, these just adjust for individual inputs. All it does is adjust like the treble and the bass and all that other stuff. And then this particular one has a set that you can actually put effects in to the sound. So, you know, if I wanted chorus or something on a dry guitar, I could get it through here, right? I think this cost me $200 a few years ago, so it didn't cost a lot. And of course, you're going to need some type of computer, right, to do this. The studio speakers, I think I spent maybe $100, $125, something like that. I don't remember, but along with those, you end up having some type of headphones or whatever, because during the time that you're singing, if you don't have another room, you know, where people can, like, where you can hear what's going on with the speaker, you know, how should I put this? Look, if you're singing, you can't have the speakers going in the background because it's going to show up in your microphone. Okay, so you if you have headphones, you sing with the headphones, and you make sure that there's no other sound, and the only thing that can be picked up is your voice. And then right here is my microphone, and then this is just one of those screens to prevent when you say P, you know, or whatever. It just prevents those pops. Now, as far as setting this stuff up, it's very easy. Very easy. Audio interface, you just plug it straight into a USB port. It's done. You'll have to probably download a driver. It'll come with it. When you plug this in, and then like you turn on Cubase or something, you'll have to set up your Cubase or your Pro Tools or whatever to use this, because it's going to say, you know, which ASIO driver do you want or whatever, and then it'll say, do you want to use this one or whatever. You just go to your preferences or your setup, and it'll have those options. Some of them automatically just do it by itself. As far as your mixer goes, you don't even have to worry about that. It kind of takes care of it. By the way, some mixers are USB mixers. In other words, this is your audio interface. You wouldn't even need this anymore, right? You can get some that are USB mixers, so you just plug everything into this. Okay, but it's actually really easy. And then if you have this is just for recording. If you don't even have to have the mixer, like if all you're doing is guitar and vocals, all you need is this, right? So It's real easy. And I know some people have asked about how do you set that stuff up? Basic recording, that's all you got to do, right? There's nothing really special about it. One thing that you'll notice in here is I have some insulation. Okay, I have insulation here because this blocks the sound coming from the other room, right? Not only that, but it prevents reflection inside here. And then even around my windows and everything like that, I've got insulation, and I've got carpets and stuff thrown up on the walls, so that way if I'm singing or if I'm playing, because I have my amplifier in here too, so if I'm playing and I'm trying to record this stuff, I'm not worried about getting weird like echoes, or I'm not getting, I only want my voice, because this is all that stuff is actually done for vocals. It's not really done so much for my instruments, but I do that because I don't want anything coming through on my microphones, right? If I'm singing or something like that. And then so you end up doing that. So if you have a bedroom and your little recording studios in your bedroom, be mindful of windows that have passing cars, or be mindful of if you have an air conditioner that goes off and you can hear it, you might have to turn the AC off during the time that you're recording your vocals. Be mindful of rooms that have tile floors, that are fairly large, because it's going to give you an echo, and it'll show up on your microphone, And when it comes to the microphone, granted, I'm using basically the one that you would see everybody got. This, I think I spent $100 and some. I don't even remember. But you can get the regular. Where are they? I have like one inside. I have a bunch of them. Like I've got, you can the type that you'd have like in karaoke, the omnidirectional or whatever. You can get those. Same thing. You might get them for $50, $100, something like that. Just make sure you don't get a cheap one. And when I say cheap, that doesn't necessarily mean price. It just means a poorly made one. Just make sure you get a good quality one. Go online, look at the reviews. And I would sooner list, like when it comes to buying a microphone for your cabinet. In other words, like if you're going to be miking up your cabinet, you want to listen to other guitarists and stuff that say, look, this is what I use and blah blah blah, and then they give you examples like, this is a result, this is what I did, right? And if it's going to be for vocals, you want to listen to somebody that sings, right? Like, this is what I use when I sing and blah blah blah, and it's good. But you have to be real careful, because there's a lot of people out there that will say, oh, this is a great microphone or whatever, but the reality is they don't even own that. They're only saying because they're repeating what they heard from somebody else, or they saw it on TV, not TV, but they saw it on YouTube or something. So you got to be careful of that shit. Do your research and make sure that all the research that you do is from a credible source, because if you go somewhere like Guitar Center or Sweetwater Sound, or any of these places that they have online stores and there's reviews there, you don't know who did those reviews, right? It could be somebody that works for the store. This is the greatest thing I've ever had. I love Sweetwater Sound. Blah, blah. You don't know, so you have to go by something that is not related to that store, really, to find out the truth. And you also have to be careful that it's not a competitor, right? This is the problem, because you don't know if it's somebody sabotaging another company or somebody that's just kind of self-promoting, right? So get on YouTube, look up stuff, just look at the normal people playing it, seeing what, also you have to take into account their talent, their skills and stuff, because they might not be doing it justice, right? The product. Anyway, I know it seems like all my videos, it's a little bit long and drawn out, but I just wanted to show it's, when setting up a home recording studio, it's not hard. It's not hard. It doesn't take a lot. It's going to take a little cash, but if you don't have the studio speakers and you don't have the mixing board, just get an audio interface, spend $150 or whatever, $200. They'll usually come with some type of recording software, and then that is a great start. That's a great start. And then from there, just start figuring out what you need in order to improve upon that. There's no reason to go balls to the wall and spend $10,000, $15,000 on stuff when you're first starting out, because you probably won't notice a big difference between that and something like this anyway, right? Nowadays, you don't have to worry about it as much, but I was going to bring up latency, but you don't really have to worry about that stuff as much as you used to. It's pretty much like zero latency nowadays, so Only if you have an old computer, you're thinking about buying old products, do you have to worry about the latency, and that's just the time that it takes for, you know, your audio interface and the computer to process the incoming sound and then send it to the basically the output. And sometimes you end up getting a delay, and it'd be really hard to record things and stuff, but you don't really have that problem anymore. So anyway, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and post them, and I'll talk to you later.